Have you signed, all of you? Before classes starts, please always. Hello everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have any questions before I start? Okay, so I have something to tell you. I forgot to talk about that in your class. So when I showed you the ebook on sapling, for each chapter, you can find the content, okay? For each chapter, we have a chapter summary. And I want you to find that. That's just 1 page or 2 pages of kind of brief information of each chapter. So that's a good thing if you want to review whole chapter. And then I forgot to talk about the other times that I'm teaching. I'm teaching at 2 o'clock and 5:30 today. So if you are, there's like emergency, you cannot attend this class, and you don't want to lose your attendance, and you don't want to lose anything, you can attend my other classes. I have one at 2 o'clock, one at 5:30, and the syllabus are all the syllabus for my classes on Monday, Wednesday are on sapling, news part of sapling. You can find the syllabus for those classes and find the time if you forget. Okay. And so I have one question. So when I upload something or write down something in news feed or news part of this sapling, do you receive email? Did you? No?
I think I did.
So some of you probably will receive email in your spam part of email. So I don't know how to, check that, but you should receive an email when I write down something in news. But have you seen the lecture, the first one? It was not lecture, it was just, kind of introduction. Have you seen that on YouTube? So if you want to watch that, if you want to receive notification, you can subscribe and turn on the notification, so you, instead of me every time emailing you with all these links, everything, you can just directly receive that notification. So if you are going to watch that, just subscribe and you will receive. And actually it's a good thing, I will know how many of the students are watching the lecture again and again, and that would be like kind of good thing for me to know my students. So if you want, you can subscribe, and I encourage actually you to subscribe and turn on the notification. Any question before we start? Sure?
Forgot to say like, comment, and share.
Tap the bell.
Do you have any questions? Okay, well, let's start chapter 1. And one thing, I forgot to mention that in your class, I think. Please, during the lecture, don't be scared, don't talk to each other at all. At all, please. I have some students, I know, they will talk to each other and they think they are not distracting, but they are distracting. For me and for other students, okay? Please just respect that. Okay, so we already talked about a statistic, how we use a statistic, and what's the meaning of kind of a statistic. A statistic is knowledge of data. So now today I'm going to talk about that data, and how we can even collect the data, and how we can use that, how we can interpret that data, and everything you should know. So, so let me write down a statistic is knowledge of data. And now how to get this data, how to collect this data. So there are two ways to collect data. Data is information. So here I will write down in another word, this is the information. There are two ways to collect data. One is observe and collect data. Another is experiment. So we call this experimental study. We call this observational study. Before I explain an observational study and experimental study, I want to talk about this data more. Data has two parts. This information that we collect has two parts. One part is individual in the study. The second part is variables. Individuals are the objects, sometimes people, sometimes animal, sometimes different objects like things. So individuals in a study are subject, people, animal, whoever that we are interested in to collect their data. Okay, so before I explain the variables, let's talk about individual more. Imagine when I say a study, I mean, for example, I want to find the relation between my students' grade, exams grade, and their age, or a student's exams grade and let's say the hours they studied before the exam. This is a question in my mind. How might a student perform if they study more? How might a student perform in exam if they study less? So, depending on this question, I'm going to make a study. And to start this study, to find a relation between a student's exam score and their time of the study, I have to have a data information, correct? So what is that information? That information comes from my students, their exam score, correct? First, I should have their exam score. Second, I should know how much time they spend to study for the exams, correct? So these are two information that I need. Who are the individual who I am interested in? Students, correct? So as you see, individual is object, subject, people, animal, whoever that we are interested in to research or collect the information from them. So in this study that, kind of the easiest, example I always, have is my students in the classroom and finding the relation between, their exams and some other thing. Okay, the other study, for example, we are in a garden and we have all these plants. I want to see how the fertilizer under this plant will have effect on plants, grow, correct? After how many days, they will, their branches will increase, like whatever inch, or generally I'm talking about the effect of fertilizer on different things about that plant, okay? So I have some plants and I have to collect the information from those plants. Like maybe every day we have to measure the length of each branch or roots, correct? And then I should know what kind of fertilizer I'm using under each plant, correct? What is the individual of in this study? Plants, correct? Because I am interested to find information and get information from this plant and do some study on them, do some research on them, correct? So this is the second example. Let's say we are in airport, third example, and there are some luggages, and I want to see what is the relation of these luggages weight and their length, their dimension, okay? So I have to collect the dimension, length, and maybe, if they are like a rectangular shape, we have L and W, correct? We collect those data. And then what else? What else I need to collect? The weight, correct? Weight of each suitcase. What is the individual in this study? Suitcases, correct? Maybe in that airport I have 50 suitcases, 100 suitcases. In this class I have 25 students. In that garden maybe we have 1,000 plants, correct? So we have some individuals. And these individuals are objects, subject, animal, people, whoever that we are interested in to collect the data from. Okay, this is the definition of individual. Do you have any question? And we had 3 examples. Now, the other part of data that we are collecting is variable. So what is this variable?
It's a factor that goes into, it's like one of the things that you use when you want to find your results.
So that thing.
Yeah, like the fertilizer or like
Exactly.
length of the plant.
What are these? What we call them?
Variables.
Variables, but they are characteristic of those individuals.
Yeah.
Correct? This is the characteristic of those individuals. So the definition of variable will be? Exactly. Characteristic of those individuals. So when I say IND, means individual. Please get used to this kind of brief things I'm writing down on the board. It will be easy. After some time it will be easy for you. And I'm reading that. I say those individual and then I say IND, so you should know this is individual, okay? So now we know 2 parts of data. And one part is individual, another part is variable. Individuals are objects, subject, people, animal, whoever that we are collecting data from them, and we are interested in their data and their information. And the variable is?
Any characteristics of the
Exactly. Any characteristic of those individuals. So he said any characteristic of individual. Why? Because we may have different characteristics. You as a student are my individuals, correct? How many characteristics you had in that study I was talking about?
Well, the study time.
The study time?
Yeah.
And age is another characteristic, but I didn't mention, but still that is a characteristic, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What else I mentioned in that study?
Exam score.
Exam score, exactly. Correct? What else? What characteristic you have that maybe it's important for me?
Whether you're working.
Exactly. If you're working or not, correct? What else?
Time spent studying.
Yes, I think we said that, huh? Time studying in the exam. No, I don't think we said that. Did we?
Oh, you said that's
The study time, yeah. Correct. So, What else?
Oh,
Now
yeah, someone
outside
has
of
kids or
this
not.
study. Huh?
So whether someone has kids or something.
Yeah, if they have family or not, if they have kids or not. Why? Because that will be important for me if I want to see my students' grade is changing. So I want to see what different things have effect on their exam score. Maybe they have children and they are like so
Busy.
what?
Busy.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, so busy and their children doesn't let them to study, correct? So they cannot get a good score. So these are all effective, correct? So what else is your characteristic, and maybe I can, use that. Gender, exactly. What else? What is your characteristic?
If you have a disability,
That is also important. What else? There are many of them. If you want to think, actually, I'm, asking you because I'm going to draw a table here, and we will write down at least 5-6 of them. What characteristic you have? And we can write down in that table.
Height.
Huh?
Height.
Height, exactly. Exactly. So we had gender is important, height is important, age is important. You said age, huh? And study time is important. And what else? Exam score was important. Correct? So, what else?
Whether or not you work, have other responsibilities.
That is also. So, you tell me, and I will choose 5-6 of them to write down in a table. So I need gender, I need age, I need height, I need a study time, I need exam score, and whether they are work or not, let's keep that one. That is important for me. One thing else which is maybe kind of similar to height, just there is something involved with number. Weight, exactly. I want that too. So, yeah. Let's write down. Let's draw a table. So now data has two parts, individuals, variables. So now I want to say data set has two parts because all the information I'm collecting, I'm going to make it like a set and draw it here, and like an Excel sheet. You may saw Excel sheet, correct?
Yeah.
So there are like columns and rows, correct? I'm going to draw something like that. So, this is just for your knowledge. We are not going to work on Excel or anything like that, or entering any data, but just for your knowledge, whenever you see something like this, you should be able to understand this kind of information, understand the data set. So we call this data set. Now my data set has two parts. One part is individuals, correct? Another part is variables, correct? So now, in first column, we always write down the individuals. So now how we write down, let's say this is the column for individual. All the individuals are here. Let's say I'm talking about the study of this classroom. I'm, talking about the students being individual. Either I can write down a student number 1, a student number 2, a student number 3, up to how many students we have in this class? 20, almost 7. Okay, so we write down all of them, and instead of a student 1, a student 2, a student up to 27, I could write down individual number 1, individual number 2, individual number 3, or what else I could write down?
Our names.
I don't know.
That is another step. We have it in
A,
that.
B, C, D.
You read the PDF, huh? So what we should write down? Students'
Letters. Names.
names, exactly. Students' names, correct? You could write down a student's name. First name, last name, first name, last name. So we have these individuals in our study, correct? So now, what are these columns? Variables, exactly. So we start with, let's say, test score, because I wanted to emphasize on the result being a test score. So we have their test score, we have their study time, we have their, what was the other variable? No, those I said I want them.
There was
Height,
Height,
weight,
weight,
age,
age,
whether they have work or not.
gender also, whether they have work or not.
time availability.
I chose 6 of them almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no, 6. Sorry, maybe more than that. I chose more. I think that's enough, but let's see. Gender, I have gender, age, study time, weight. No, I want one other thing like work or not. They are working or not. Anything else we mentioned?
Yeah, basically.
Family. If they have
Family,
children.
number of children, number of children. Okay, that's enough. So I chose this because I want to explain something about these variables, but there are lots of other variables. What else you have? I don't want to write down, but you may, it comes to your mind.
Background.
Background means field of study probably, or yeah, background. But we should specify which kind of background, what we are talking about. Either the education maybe, how many field of study they have been, or if they had a job or not. Oh, we talked about job also, if they have job or not, correct? And
We also talked about disability.
disability, if they have disability or not, correct? Anything else about
Experience.
yourself?
Experience.
If they have experience working, probably, correct? Yes?
Race.
Race, exactly. Race is good too.
Culture.
Culture,
Location.
where they are living, for example, maybe a state, correct? And then one is like the easiest one, eye color, hair color, correct? These are something, either they are wearing glass or not. I see some students have glasses. These are all like good variables, to use. Okay, so now, do you have any questions so far? Are these clear?
Yes.
Sure? Do you have questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. So, for student number 1, what I need? The test score. So now be creative.
92.
92. Good student. Study time. How much he studied to get 90? Sorry,
2 hours.
maybe he, she, I don't know. But still we don't know the gender, huh? How many hours?
3 hours.
3 hours. Okay, good. Let me talk about hours. If you're writing down 3 hours for the first student, for the second student, you have to use hours.
Yeah.
Okay? So what we call this? Anyone knows? What is that? I heard something. It's something new. Unit of measurement. Exactly. Unit of measurement. So unit of measurement is important. If you are using 1 unit of measurement for this variable, for all the students, you should have the same unit of measurement. So what is the unit of measurement for test score? Percent, correct? 5/8. Okay. 5/8 what? Inches. So what is the unit of measurement? Inches. Feet. inches. 5 inches.
15.
Feet. Okay, good. Most of my students are paying attention. That's great. Okay, so
150.
102. 131, 5 or 4?
135.
5. It will be skinny for that height.
Yeah.
That's why we said
That's
that.
scary.
What is the age? 52. Oh, no, don't say that because my elderly students are always better than younger students. Sorry.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Pounds.
What is
per-
the pound for this one?
Kilos?
So look, we have different unit of measurement, correct? You always should specify which kind of unit of measurement you are using. So if we are going to have a data set like that, we always should write down something as a note. For some people who just enter this class and they don't know what is going on, and we don't write down unit of measurement, maybe we should write down something here like the variable number 1 is test score and unit of measurement is percentage. And all the detail about different variables. Maybe we should write this down for some people who don't know what's going on in our data set. Because if you are entering data to the Excel or any kind of this similar kind of sheet, you cannot write down pound here, you cannot write down feet here, you cannot write down hours. So 3 what? If someone doesn't know what is going on in our study, they can read our notes and they will understand variable 2 is study time and unit of measurement is hours. Correct? So we should write down, we should always have a note. And beside that, if you see, I wrote down variable 1 because in most of the studies we have too many variables. Maybe we have to cut them, we have to, like make it brief. Do you understand? Or write down like variable 1, variable 2, instead of writing down the, whole name of that variable. Okay? So that's why it's always good to have a note. Okay, what is the gender for the first student?
Female.
Female. Working or not?
Yes.
Yes. So do you see that? I write down Y or I can write down yes. So let's write this down. For gender, as a note, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Variable 6, right? Variable 6. Gender. What should I write down as a note? What do you think? M for male, okay? F for female. And then we should do the same thing for working or not. We can write down yes means they are working, no means they are not working. There is something that, okay, let me write this down here. Yes for working, no for not working. So there's something we call that coding. Just remember, I want to talk about coding, but I don't want to forget that. Just remind me, okay? About this working or not, about gender. So just remind me so I don't forget. Okay, so let's be fast. How many children they have? She has. Huh?
12.
20.
2.
2. 20? Okay, to be fair, between 2 and 20 I chose 2. Student number 2.
16.
17%.
Or 80.
No, my student never gets 70%.
81.
85.
No.
81.
85. What else?
2
2 hours.
1.5 hours.
Really? You never can get this score if you study 1.5 hours. I'm so sorry. You never can get this score, not in my class.
I'll show you. I won't study and I'll get 95.
Because probably you are studying every day.
Or you choose.
Then before exam you study just 1 hour and a half. Yes, of course you can get a good grade.
Question. The study time in a day, every day, or just one day?
Okay, good thing. So, a study time before exam, just 1 day before.
Just one day before exam.
Huh? 2 days before, during the break before exam.
Mhm.
1 day, 2 days. So we should specify that in our note. Maybe we can write down, this is a study time for 2 days, for example. So let's increase that to 15 hours. I don't like that 1.5.
15 hours.
You got 85 within the 3 hours. You got 90.
Yeah, but because she has or he has 5 children and get distracted.
But how does he have more time? How does he have like 15 hours?
So she was sitting there for 15 hours studying, and these children are distracting. But she was there continuously behind her desk.
No.
So I'm mentioning female. Yeah, because if she's a house, kind of what do you call that, mom. So always children are like bothering over and over. One of my students one time came to me and she said, my child kind of destroyed my laptop. Spilled water on my laptop, so that's why I cannot, take my homework. That's not a good excuse, because still we have computer in learning center. I said, why you didn't go to university to study? And then she would bring me other excuse like I didn't have anyone to take care of my child. Something like that, probably. Okay, so what is the height?
4 feet.
5
feet.
4 feet to
6 feet.
4 feet. Don't say that.
4'8".
It's not nice. What about this one?
140.
120.
There are some people. 140? No way.
Bro,
That's
why are we
like,
making her so like fat? And, like,
Hey, chill out.
don't say
No,
that.
but she's 4 foot and 140, and this chick's like 135 and 5'8". So like,
No, that's not proper. It's not.
She's like 95.
Don't
yeah,
judge
so it's
people.
something like
Don't judge
90
people.
pounds.
She's just
Don't
all
judge
muscle,
my
bro. Chill
student.
out. She's yoked.
Okay, satisfied?
Not really.
Okay, don't judge my student anymore. Okay, I don't want you to talk about my students.
18.
30.
18 with 5 kids.
When did she start getting kids?
When did she start?
Is she working? No, that's why she's.
That's why she has 15 hours.
Oh my God, we are recording this, and someone will, accuse me of, what do you call that in America? Whatever, fooling people. Sorry. See it? I should record another class.
I know.
I cannot use this.
She's not working.
She's not working. Okay. So, thank God we are done. Just to see the there. Otherwise. Okay, so we write down all the information for the students we have in our data set, and imagine if you want to write down all of them. These are imaginary, actually. In real life, it will not be that funny. Yeah, imagine the time you are spending entering all the data, so it will not be at all funny.
There's actually someone 4 foot, 140.
Sometimes it happens when you are entering data, there are something so strange, and we'll later talk about that, what we call those kind of, individuals.
The 80-year-olds with 5 kids?
If there was something really extraordinary about the person's grade or everything, we later will talk about that.
I think the 15 hours is.
So why we call that like extraordinary? Because some of individual stands out, and the result is totally different from others. So later we talk about that, and they have a kind of name in a study. Okay, do you have any question? Did you have fun?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Okay, so let's continue talking about each of these variables. And again, I should go back and talk about the way we are collecting even, data in each study. Okay, so variable number 1, as you see, there are numbers, correct? These variables also numbers. What happens?
Letters.
Letters. So these two are different from others, okay? And this is number. So now I will tell you this, but I have to explain it more and more because it's not happening always. Whenever you see numbers for variables, this variable maybe are, do you know that? Anyone read that?
Quantitative.
Numerical variables. Because we are dealing with number, correct? So this one maybe is numerical, this one is maybe numerical. Why I say maybe? Because I will give you two kind of questions. So you will ask yourself while you are going through one variable, then you will make sure if that variable is numerical or not. Okay? And then I will bring some situation here for you, and you will understand that you never can judge just by looking at some variables. Okay, so this is maybe variable numerical, this is maybe numerical, correct? So when I ask you what is the nature of variable, you will say nature of variable number 1 is numerical. Okay, so I will write this down here. Nature of variables, either numerical or we have this kind of variables. So we will talk about this, and we have a name for these variables too. Nature of these variables. So this one is maybe numerical, this one is numerical, correct? This one is numerical, weight is numerical, age is numerical, correct? Because we see some numbers there. And then number of children's numbers, correct? Numerical. This one, as you see, how many groups we have for gender? 2, either male or female. When for a variable you have different groups, or in parentheses different categories, you call that variable a categorical variable. So what is the nature of this variable gender? Categorical, correct? What is the nature of working or not? Categorical. So the second one is categorical. So nature of variable can be either numerical or categorical. Numerical variable has another name, categorical variable also has another name. I will start with this. The name for this one is quantitative variable. So either we call that numerical or quantitative. What is the opposite of quantitative? Qualitative. So categorical variable or qualitative variable. Okay. So now how we can make sure a variable is numerical? If it is a number, what about this one? 1 second. Sorry. Read this. Read this. Oops, sorry. read these questions here, okay? These questions, and fill the blank, okay?
Oh. Bro, I swear I'm false in this class and it's gonna be I'm gonna have to ask you to use my calculator. That's what I told you. It's like just data. That's all it is. It's just data. Thank you. Alright, first section. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So, because you were reading this, so let me ask you. A college student's database, for example, includes data about every currently enrolled student. The students are the individuals, correct. For each individual, data contain the value of problems such as date of birth, choice of major, grade point, means GPA. What should you write down here? Variables, correct. Okay, so now how to make sure a variable is numerical or categorical. So we have two questions here. The first question you will ask is there any unit of measurement for that variable? Is there any unit of measurement for that variable? This is the first question we ask to make sure if our variable is numerical or categorical. So look at the first variable, which I said it's numerical. Is there any unit of measurement for test score?
Yes.
Yes. If answer is yes, the variable is quantitative or numerical. What is the unit of measurement for age? Years. Correct? Unit of measurement for age is years. What is the unit of measurement for gender? Huh? It's categorical. We don't have any unit of measurement. So the answer is no. And then the variable is categorical. So if answer is no, variable is categorical. Correct? Any question so far? No? The second question can be performed. Oh, actually I can say it like that. Does arithmetic operation make sense for that variable? Does arithmetic operation make sense for that variable? So when I say arithmetic operation means can we add them, subtract them, find the average for them, this kind of things, multiply them. These are arithmetic operations, correct? So does arithmetic operation make sense for that variable? And for variable 1, does arithmetic operation make sense? Can we add them, subtract them, find the average of a score?
Yes.
Yes. So if answer is yes, the variable is? Yes. Answer is yes. Variable is numerical. Does arithmetic operation make sense for gender? It doesn't. So what is the point of, adding, subtracting, anything like that? It doesn't make sense, correct? So when answer is no, what we have? Categorical variable. Variable is categorical. Correct?
So
Is that clear?
if something is categorical like gender, would you have to split up the males and females?
We have two groups.
Find your own set of data for each.
The one you are talking about is frequency. We call that frequency. So one group is male, one group is female, correct? How many female we have, how many male we have?
Yeah, in this case, they're all students, so that's why there's a category for male and female, and we're not splitting them up into different.
So
No, what he's asking is, since there's males and females, would we split up their data because they're males and females?
we don't
Yeah,
separate
yeah,
them.
but
We are all talking about
students.
individuals overall.
Yeah.
So we don't treat them separately unless we have a question that relate specifically to female, relate specifically to male. So in that situation, yeah. Any other question? Sure. Okay. So now I will talk about this one. Okay, wait. So let's go through all of them to see what kind of variable they are. So variable number 2 was a study time. There are two questions. What is that? Is there any unit of measurement? Yes. Correct. What is that? Hours. Correct. So perhaps it's a numerical variable. So let's continue. Does arithmetic operation make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So the variable is numerical. Correct. Answer for both questions was yes. Height. Is there any unit of measurement?
Yes.
Yes. Does arithmetic operation make sense? So this variable is numerical. Weight? For both of them? Yes. What is the unit of measurement? Pounds. Correct? Unit of measurement is pound. So the variable is numerical. Correct? Age?
Years.
Numerical. Correct? A unit of measurement, we said years. So is this numerical? No. This is categorical. Gender is categorical variable. Working or not is categorical variable, correct? Because we don't have unit of measurement, we cannot perform arithmetic operation. Correct? So what is the last one? Numerical. So okay, now let's look at this. What is the unit of measurement for number of children? Actually, yeah, we can say this much children. Correct?
Yeah.
This many children, sorry. This many children. Or sometimes we call them count. Count. But yes, you are right. You can say 2 children, 5 children. So that would be the unit of measurement. Okay, so now let's go back to the thing I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to talk about working or not. Sometimes instead of writing down the letters, I will write down something like this. 0 for yes, 1 for no. So I will assign a number to each group. So if I have 5, 6 group, like let's say I have your eye color. So instead of writing down all these, colors in letterboard, I can write down group number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Okay? So what we call them? We call them coding. Coding. So instead of writing down the letters, I can write down what was yes. 0. I can write down 1. For gender also I could do that. So what we call that? Coding. Coding is just specifically for categorical variable. We assign numbers to each group. Is that clear?
Yes.
So now let's go back to this working or not. Now we'll ask the question again. What is the nature of this variable, working or not?
Categorical.
Categorical.
It's categorical.
See, now there's a confusion. How many of you will say categorical? How many, again I will repeat, how many of you will say categorical? Okay, so the number increases.
Well, okay. Well, what I'm saying is it works for both A and B, but if we look at the
How it works?
because
Ask the question.
I
Is there
repeat
any unit of measurement for 0 and 1? No. Correct?
Yeah.
And does arithmetic operation make sense? For 0 and 1, what you want to do? Add them, subtract them, for what reason?
0 plus 1 is
So answer for both questions, no. The variable is still
Categorical.
category. Correct? This is just coding. We are just assigning numbers to groups to make it easier at some point. Do you understand that? Is this clear? So still, working or not will be categorical variable, even though we have some numbers there. So sometimes you cannot just rely on numbers and say, because I saw the number, that is a numerical variable, correct? You should ask the questions to make sure if that's a numerical variable or not. Correct? Okay, so this one, and then one thing else I should talk about. This age you see here, they are all numbers, correct? And we already said this is a numerical variable. But can I have categorical variable age?
Yeah.
How?
Adult or
Adult.
Exactly. So what you are doing exactly, you are making groups or categories, correct? So you can change a numerical variable to a categorical variable by grouping. Can I change weight of people to a categorical variable too?
Yes. Obese, overweight.
See? We can either have just 2 categories, we can have 3 categories, but still we should specify from what weight to what weight is the group of what you call that, obese people. From what weight to another weight count as why I forgot.
Overweight.
Overweight and lower weight, no.
Healthy
There is
weight.
underweight. Underweight. I forgot. So you can have different group, but you should specify the boundary for each group, correct?
Yeah.
You should specify the boundary for each group, boundary of number. From this weight to this weight count as underweight or obese or blah blah. So you may have 3 categories, you may have 2 categories, depending on you, but you are able to, the main conclusion is that you can change a numerical variable to a categorical variable by grouping. Yes.
So because you changed the numerical to categorical, there'll be a way to switch it back categorical to numerical.
That's a good question. So, can you switch it back to numerical again? How you can?
No.
If you have all the data and you already wrote down, okay, this individual were this much weight, and I put that in underweight. If you had all the information, yes, you can go back and see what a student had this, weight. What a student were overweight and what was the, exact weight for that, the number for that, and put all the numbers back. It will be so difficult, correct? If you don't have all the information and all the notes. So changing this to categorical variable is so easy. But turning that back to the numerical depends on the information, all the things you already have. If you kept all of this, yes, you already have it. But if you don't have it, and let's say I had a questionnaire here, and I would ask you what you consider yourself as overweight, underweight or middle, and you were just choosing instead of giving me number, correct?
Yeah.
So your weight was categorical variable. And I didn't know what is your weight exactly. So that weight would definitely be a categorical variable because I don't have any numbers there. I have just categories. I don't have any information. Is that clear? Yes.
So you can change height to like short or tall.
You can do that, exactly. So numerical variable, that can be a categorical variable. You can change to different group. So there are lots of examples, different, numerical variable. If you want, you can, make them like a categorical variable by grouping. Okay? Do you have any question?
Nope.
Sure? Yes.
Can you remove some of the variables if you can group things? For example, the weight. Because if you categorize the weight as obese or something, it would also include the height. If you're obese for that height, or if you're normal for that height. So can you remove the height?
That would be like more BMI. Like if you just if you want to combine
You
both
would
of them,
have
then you would
other
put BMI.
variable or other kind of,
Yeah, it wouldn't be weight and height
So
anymore.
these
It'd be
two
just
are
BMI.
totally separated now.
Yeah,
Do you
they're
see that?
separate.
So if I make this categorical, still they would be separated.
So
I can find a relation between these two later after I have all the information.
Oh, right.
I can find a relation. But if you want something like that, yeah, as he said, BMI, some kind of
That's really
categories
category,
like that.
yeah.
The body mass
Index.
index. So you can have that one. And yeah, you can have a combined variable, but they are separated now. Okay,
So it's better to write them all down now, and then
Yes,
sum it up in the end.
oh, okay. So it depends. If I am interested in finding height of people in categories, so at first I just collect data like a categorical variable, and if I'm interested in numbers, I'm collecting everything in numbers, correct? And then in middle of the study, maybe I have all numbers, and I said, oh, I better have a study like a question like related to categorical height. So maybe in middle of the study I will change it and I will group them, correct? So it just depends what kind of study you have, what kind of question you have in your mind. No. So any other question? Okay, so let me see if I talked about everything here. So I told you that all the individuals in a specific variable should have the same unit of measurement for all the individuals, correct? I told you that. So if you are using, for example, pound here, everything else should be pound. You should not have kg or pound or mixed unit of measurement. And then I talked about coding, and okay, so if you're good at this point, so let's continue talk about observational study and experimental study. So I will briefly explain everything. You don't have to write it down. We have some, sentence in the PDF, and later also in chapter 8 and 9 we are going to talk about experimental study, observational study. But this is just for your information to know how we collect the data. So like in a classroom, if I want to collect the data, I'm going to just wait until your first exam and collect all the exam score, okay? And just collect that without changing anything. I'm just writing down all the information, okay? Then about you, I will either give you a questionnaire about your information, your characteristic. What is your eye color? What is your hair color? What is your, job status? What is your, study time before exam? So I'm just writing that. You're just writing down everything, and I will collect that without influencing anything. Okay? I'm just observing, writing down everything. So what kind of a study I have? Observational study. Okay? So I just collect the data without changing anything. I'm just observing, collecting. In example of garden also, if I just observe the flowers or plant and write down the information related to their hair color. What is it?
Number of branches.
Yeah, number of branches, color of flower, or all of this information. I'm just observing, writing down, okay? That would be observational study because I'm not changing anything. Now, imagine same study in the classroom. I am collecting your data, but I will tell you, you study 5 hours, I want to see how your exam will be. You study 8 hours, I want to see how your exam is. Or all of you study 10 hours, I want to see what you do in first exam and you study 10 hours. Or next exam, I will tell you study just 5 hours to see what happens. So what I'm doing, I'm changing something, I'm influencing, I'm giving you a treatment, correct? So what happens? I'm doing the experiment, correct? So what kind of a study will be? Experimental study. So when you are not changing anything, you are observing and collecting, we have observational. But if you are influencing an individual to see what is the result, and you have a treatment, you have experimental study. So these are the way you collect the data, collect the information. So study of garden, how it can be experimental study? Can you tell me?
What actual fertilizer you use?
What kind of fertilizer we use?
Lighting.
Amount of water,
Lighting.
lighting. See all of these. If I change this, if I keep eye on them and see what is the effect of different lights, and I have different kind of fertilizer, so all of these will change the result, correct? I'm influencing, correct? I have treatment. So our study will be experimental. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's go through the notes to see what we have here. So in our notes, first I talked about observational and experimental study, and then here we will talk about variance later, and we talked about individual. So let's go through this. A set of data contains information about some group of individual. The information is organized in variable. Individual or object described by set of data. Individuals may be people, but they may be animal or things. A variable is any characteristic of those individuals. A variable can take different values for different individuals. So as you see, we had one individual, but for that individual, the first system, we have many variables. Or we could have just one variable, or just two variables, or many variables. So for one individual, we can have different number of variables. And then we talked about this. Okay, so what is this? When you plan a statistical study or explore data from someone else's work, ask yourself the following question. How many individuals, what variables, where, when, why, what is the purpose of this, study. Okay, so we ask who to know who is the individual of this study. We ask how many individuals because we want to know the number of individuals we have in our study. We ask where because location of a study is important. Why? I will explain this to you. Because let's say I am collecting data to find a relation between some characteristic of my student and their exam score. In University of Gallup, correct? Most of my students are working. Some of them, they are full-time students and they have their job, correct? But let's say I have the same study in UNM main campus. Mostly they are just full-time students. So what happens? The result that I get here, the amount of study, effective amount of study on a student's exam score will be very different from the relation between exam score and the time a student in Albuquerque, spend studying for the exam. Okay? So these two information will be totally different because location is different. So it's always important to know where we are collecting data and where we are, conducting kind of study, and where was the result for which location. So like even New Mexico, if we want to talk about students' education, it's totally different from other states, correct? So always location is important. We should ask this question to see if we have a result, where they did this study, where this data come from. And another thing is when. Imagine maybe we had a study of like the relation between females education or something related to females education. This is a study, for example. So if I make this a study now, there are many of my students who are female, correct? I have more students who are female. But if I had this study 15 years ago, what would happen? There were less female out in universities to study because most of female those time, maybe 20 years ago, considered as housewife taking care of children, correct? So there's a difference between the time. So you always should make sure what time they conducted this study and they collect this data, because every year information will be different and updated, correct? So these are important things you should always ask yourself when you are reading someone else's study, or you are provided with some data set, correct? And we talked about categorical variable places an individual into one of several groups or categories. Quantitative variable or numerical takes numerical variable values for which arithmetic operations such as adding, averaging make sense. The value of a quantitative variable are usually recorded with unit of measurement. Okay, so now let's look at this. Okay, now let's go through this. So I told you the first column is always individual, and the rest front of that will be the variable or characteristic of those individuals, correct? This table is a complete table. So we have some individuals, but I want you to tell me what are the individuals in this study. What is that? All of you.
Cars.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Cars, correct? We have name of different cars. And then we have characteristic of those cars. So the first column is the vehicle class. So you tell me, is that numerical or categorical?
Categorical.
Categorical, correct? So now this question, how many categories we have there?
So that's 4. There's large, medium, small station wagon.
Are you sure? There are 3 dots. What that means it's continuing, correct? So maybe there are different kind of vehicle class, huh? Is that correct? Maybe there are. So I'm not car expert, so that's why I'm not sure. So maybe there are. But the next one, transmission type. So now you tell me, what is the variable here? What's the nature of variable?
Categorical.
So how many groups we have now?
2.
So it's obvious, huh? 2. So even though it's continuing, we still know it's 2. So number of cylinders. So this is a really kind of complicated variable. Because so for years I was saying this is, what do you call this? What kind of nature you think it has?
It's a
Categorical.
So now you say categorical. So for years I was considering this as a numerical variable because, as I said, I'm not car expert. Until 4 semesters ago, one of my students, stopped me and corrected me and explained that there are just how many number of cylinders for the cars?
8.
How many number? 8 cylinders you have? 8, 4, 6. What else? See, you even don't know.
4, 6.
How you could expect me to know? But there are kind of specific categories, correct? 2, is it 2?
I think it's small.
You know what is
Like
funny?
really small
He
vehicles.
explained to me later in other semester, another student explained to me, but still I don't remember. Just ask me what is the color of my car. For sure I know what is that. The rest, nope. For years I even didn't go to gas station to refill my car. My dad used to take my car. I even didn't know this kind of things. And this time, so it's so funny. My husband was in Albuquerque and I had to refill the gas and I went to gas station. I was looking at this and I'm putting this card and it doesn't work. What should I do? And I was so confused. I'm asking other people and it was a funny situation when you don't know how to do that because there are some people looking at you and they're thinking, she's not 16 years old, but she doesn't know this. And I had to go inside the gas station and bring them out. The guy was so angry and mad, so mad because I kind of wasted his time. And just he told me this: after you bring out the nozzle, you should bring these things up. I don't know. One of these gas stations was like that, and I didn't know. I mean, like we're just women. I'm sorry for all women. But most of us don't have any information, about this kind of things, electronics, cars. So I'm sorry, maybe some of women here are really expert, but mostly, be honest, most women are not. Huh? Okay, so let's continue. Number of cylinder. I was saying numerical, correct? Because I didn't know there is category. A student corrected me. I said, okay, let's say category because there are just 4 or 5 categories. I went back to the book last semester. I noticed book says numerical.
So they're wrong.
I don't know what should
The
I
book's
do.
wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, it should be wrong. I mean, not all the books are perfect, and statistic is so strange. There are some results, even a statistician are not accurate, and they cannot, have the same result, and they cannot, be friends. They have different kind of opinions. So I'm just giving you all my information that I have. You can search that, you can see what is going on. But now, even though book says numerical, I cannot consider this as numerical variable.
I just think whoever wrote the books don't know about cars.
Exactly.
We're just
Maybe it's like the number of children, how they count, they use it, the unit of measurement is count, so like maybe it's like.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, that's.
Well,
I was thinking. That's why
I
all
don't know.
the years I was saying numerical. That's why I thought, okay, count. Yes.
Could you follow that second rule also? Does the arithmetic operation make sense?
So yeah, exactly. That doesn't make sense, huh?
Sense either.
That doesn't make sense if you add them, because maybe we have 5 numbers and then cylinder average of cylinder would be something half. So we don't have cylinder to be some number half, correct? So we cannot have a whole number. That's why. So let's choose this as a
Categorical.
categorical. Okay. So city mileage,
Oh.
Numerical.
numerical. Unit of measurement,
Miles per gallon.
miles per gallon. Correct. The next one, numerical. Correct. Unit of measurement is miles per gallon. And then what is the last one? What is the nature of variable?
Numerical.
Numerical. What is the unit of measurement? Dollars. Great. Do you have any question? So how is the stat now? You tell me.
It's pretty okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So
feel like
interesting.
this is one of the maths that actually have a purpose in this world.
Purpose. Exactly. Good. Thank you. Two extra credit.
Hell yeah, heard it, guys.
Okay. So
It's recorded right there.
It's my favorite question.
I was just kidding. Okay.
Are we ever going to use the terms population and sample?
Yes, we will later in later
Okay.
chapter. Yeah, chapter 15. We are going to talk about population and sample. Take your assignment. See what is going on. Still, I have to go through chapter 1. Still, I have to go through all the graphs, everything. On Monday, we will continue chapter 1.
You guys heard
and we
it.
will
2 extra
probably
credit
finish
points
chapter
right
1.
here.
Bring me